Well, welcome to today's session. We have Toni Castellitano, and she is here to talk to us about how our thoughts affect our body and vice versa. You know, how our bodies affect, well, not our thoughts, but our inner wisdom. And Toni is a psychologist, or a therapist, and she helps people. She helps families, and she also helps people who are trying to let go of medication for things like depression and anxiety. And she helps them find other ways to really deal with those types of ailments. So sorry if I'm stuttering through that. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Christina. I'm so happy to be a part of this. It's so exciting. So like you were saying, I work with people and really help them through anxiety and depression. And one of the things that I've noticed across the board, and this is pretty common throughout many therapeutic interventions, is that the thoughts that people hold, the beliefs that people have about themselves really shape their emotional bodies, their emotional reactions to stress, and their emotional reactions to life, which can then have an impact on our physical wellness. So today, what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about our inner narrative, or the stories that we tell ourselves, those thoughts that we have. I know that you've met with other speakers and they've gone into a little bit more around those inner narratives and inner dialogues, so I'm not going to get too much into that. But one of the things that I want to do today is really help people understand that our thoughts really do have a direct impact on the way we feel and the way our physical bodies feel. So we're going to do a little bit of an experiential where I'm going to ask that you close your eyes and we start. The purpose of this is for you to just really sink into your seat and take a deep breath or two at your own pace. And I'm going to run some thoughts through your head. And I want you to pay attention to your body sensations. So bring all of your awareness into all of the places inside of your body, really letting yourself be held and supported by the seat that you're sitting on. And hear my words and take them into your cells. I am worthy. I am safe. I am loved. I am worthy. I am safe. I am loved. Hold the frequency of those thoughts in your body, paying attention to any openings, any body sensations. As you hear the words, I am worthy, I am safe, and I am loved. And now with your eyes still closed, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to run a different frequency through your body, through your mind. I am nothing. I am in danger. I am unlovable. I am nothing. I am in danger. I am unlovable. Paying attention to what's happening in your body when you hear the words, I am in danger, I am nothing, and I am unloved. When you're ready, Christina, bring yourself back to center. Hear my voice. Let it be a grounding energy inside of your body. And bring yourself back when you're ready with an open eyes. And I want to ask you what it was like to hear those very different thought patterns run through. If you experienced in your body.
Oh, it's very different. Yeah. The first, I felt good at first. I was like, ooh, that's nice. My whole body relaxed. And like the word I could think of is like expansive. Like I felt like open, you know? And then you started the second set of messages and like all those openings were like,
Yeah.
and everything got constricted and cramps started.
Yeah, and that's it. And I'm sorry for the messages of the second part of that experiential, but that's what happens in our bodies with our thoughts. When our body goes into a state of constriction, we our heart rate goes faster. We become dysregulated. We get anxious. We go into more of those same thoughts. And so imagine now that we have anywhere between 40,000 and 70,000 thoughts a day. And depending on what those thoughts are, our body is in response to them, the way we feel about ourselves, the way you mentioned, oh, I got tight, right? Like I know for me, my stomach will, I really have to take some deep breaths when I even think about saying I am in danger, I am nothing, I am unloved. It's like, right? Like your throat just doesn't even feel good, doesn't feel right. So our bodies are always in communication with us about what is out of alignment with who we truly are. And that expansive feeling that you felt with those positive affirmations, those beautiful, positive beliefs about yourself, I am lovable, I am worthy. Well, that's who you really are. And your body really went, no, that's not who I am. That's not my higher self. That's not my authenticity. That's not me. And that's what happens throughout the day. And we don't always catch ourselves in it because these thoughts, most of our thoughts are automatic. We're not aware of what's happening. In fact, it can take us doing something that all of a sudden we're like, why am I here? Like, for example, we could be on the phone with someone and, we're feeling really good. We just ate dinner and a friend calls and our friend is talking to us about some marital difficulties or a child who's, not doing well academically and we're being supportive and we're being loving and we're being open. And then we get off the phone with them. And then before we know it, we just ate dinner, but we're opening up the refrigerator. Or we're now stressed from that phone conversation, but not realizing that, oh, maybe I constricted. And here I am now I'm in the refrigerator. I'm looking for some food or I'm looking for a beer or a glass of wine now to sort of reset the body. Our bodies are so wise because our bodies know that state of distress is not who we truly are. And so we try to find equilibrium by doing things like going to the refrigerator or going for a drink or going for a drug. Because when we experience stress, and everyone knows cortisol, this is what happens in the body when we're stressed. Our bodies produce stress hormones. And what we do intuitively is try and find that balance by looking for substance or something to bring us back down. Carbohydrates, for example, some people, when they get really stressed, they want their chips, they want their cakes, their muffins, their real starchy, delicious things to really reset us and calm us down. And that really works. Our bodies are brilliant. Our bodies know that that's going to bring that cord, that's going to calm me down. And the reason that happens is that those sorts of foods, they work on serotonin, that really feel good, mood altering, cozy in my bed, my mood is bright, serotonin neurotransmitter. When we go for dairy, how many people like to go for a bowl of ice cream, when they're stressed or when they're experiencing hormonal shifts throughout the month? We want our ice cream. Well, dairy attaches to the same receptors in the brain as opiates. So we're brilliant machines. Our bodies are so brilliant, always wanting us to come home, to be with ourselves, to find that natural state of balance. So that's an important thing to remember, that if we're not able to, in the moment, understand why we are going to the refrigerator, let's start to pay attention to the fact that we're going to the refrigerator and then go, wait a second, what just happened here? What just happened up here? What am I thinking? Am I thinking, well, I'm not able to help my friend? Am I feeling sad or in distress about what's going on for her and I'm feeling helpless, or I'm then maybe worrying about my own life? And again, listening to the body and looking at some of those behaviors that manifest to show us, oh, maybe I just thought about something stressful. Or I don't know if that's ever happened to you where you're having a fine day and then you're driving, for example, right? We drive and we get these thoughts. We have all that time inside of ourselves, and we get a thought, and then the thoughts go racing. Has that ever happened to you? You'll get something that comes to you, and then before you know it, you're really stressed or really.
Oh yeah, I got a whole story going on about it. And...
yeah, and we do. We really, really do. And I think the goal is to start to identify the thought and then to work with it. You know, if the thought is, I'm helpless. Okay, my friend called me. I felt what I felt. I thought what I thought. I went to the refrigerator to try and bring that body sensation back down. What is that thought? How come some people can be a support to a friend and not have that response? Well, maybe one person, because of their inner narrative, feels that it's my responsibility to fix what's happening in that other friend. And then that's the belief. The thought is, I have to fix this. This is my responsibility to fix this. And then, of course, we get all dysregulated around that. And so then the work therapeutically is to say, wait a second, am I really responsible for someone else? Am I really responsible? And then really sitting with that and saying to yourself, does that feel right? I'm responsible for someone else. And then listening to what's happening inside the body. If there are those right? You said, I feel constricted, I feel tight, I feel, if the body is in that state of constriction around that thought is probably not in alignment with who you really are. And then the work is to flip it, to flip that thought and say, I am responsible for myself. I take pride in being responsible for myself. Now, that's called thought replacement. Very, very beautiful to say, right? Very beautiful. Let's just replace that thought. But the issue then steps in that our thoughts are as old as our cognition is. And so if we've spent 30 plus years in one narrative with one belief, it probably won't be a graceful transition to now all of a sudden say, I'm only responsible for myself, I'm not responsible for you. So we have to really then support the body in that. And one of the ways that we can do that is by positive self-talk, by creating a new pathway. Now, let me explain for a second. Our thoughts, our beliefs create neural networks. They actually make neurons make like a webbing in the brain. And they run beautifully. That's why they're automatic. They're coated with myelin, this really beautiful fatty sheath that when, like, if my hand is one neuron and here's another neuron, when they come together to form a belief system, this beautiful fatty sheath covers it so that thought gets really slick. We don't even have to think about it. It just happens. And when we start to replace our thoughts, we're like, what? This isn't smooth. This isn't slick. The body, you're smiling. The body.
It's a habit. It's a habit. Those thoughts are habits. Like, we're just so used to doing them.
Yeah. And half of these stories aren't even ours. They're the stories that our mothers passed on from their mothers and our grandmothers and the grandmothers before them. And so we're not aware that it's even happening. It's like lightning in there. It's like, yeah, that's it. It's all we know until we know something different. Mm-hmm. Which is really beautiful that we have this container of ourselves, this body, to say, whoa, that doesn't feel good. What we can do in the neurogenesis, or the new neural nets reforming, there are things that we can do to sort of make those come up, connect, and go smoothly. we can repeat new thoughts, right? We call these mantras. You see the people wearing their prayer beads from the faiths of Buddhism and Hinduism. And I don't know if you've ever seen mala beads. I might have some somewhere. I thought maybe I was wearing them, where these ancient religious philosophies would go bead by bead and do a mantra. And the mantra could be in whatever language you choose. I love and accept myself, and really being in the body and sitting with how that feels. I love and forgive myself, and going on and on until eventually, now remember, you've got 30 plus years, 40 plus years, 50 plus years of really slick neural nets, but eventually through repetition, new neural nets will form. And that anxiety that comes from a thought that's not quite wired together yet, eventually becomes myelinated, and new neuro pathways can be formed. So mantras are a really, really great way to have new thought wire. Another really great way, it really supports that process, is by writing affirmations and putting them up around your living space. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't use my microwave. My microwave is filled on any given day with whatever issue has come up for me. I respect my boundaries. I forgive myself. And any given week, you can walk into my home and go either to the front of the refrigerator, where I also have beautiful affirmations, or go straight to that microwave, that this way the new belief system is mirrored back to you. And this positive self-talk. I have a girlfriend who says to me, wow, things are always working out for me, and I love this, because this is a new belief, right? This is a positive thing. Wow, things are always working out for me is very different from, I never win. I never get my way, right? You go to Trader Joe's, you put your ticket in the I want to win a free set of groceries, and every time you go to put the ticket in, you're like, I never win, but instead, you go to Trader Joe's and say, things are always working out for me. I love getting free groceries, and you feel good, and you put that ticket in there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll get that phone call that you want a free set of groceries.
And even if you don't, you'll feel better about it.
Yeah, and we don't go into diminishment. We then don't go into diminishment, which then we experience that, right? That, I never win anything, or I'm not worthy of this. I had an experience this morning. I went out for a run, and I came to a curb, and I saw that a car was very far away, and I went, you know what? I should probably just wait for them. And and I went into clearly I had enough space to run, but I went into my story of, they're gonna have to wait for me, and I'm not worthy of being waited for. And I went, what? That broke my stride. I'm running here. I'm a powerful woman. I'm out on a run. But I caught it because my body shrank. I went into that place of diminishment. I went into being small, and I knew right away, wow, this is not my true self. I digressed a little bit. Another
relative, yeah. But that's like an everyday way of how you can feel it. And I think that, that happens to me sometimes when if something happens and I don't say something, that I want to say, like I can feel my body,
Look where you just did it. You said I have to say something. I have to say something that I didn't say. You went, yes, you see, the body wants us to be clear, and it's always giving us subtle or not so subtle, because when we ignore the body messages, they get louder, they get so loud, right? And your body tells you what it needs, always, always, always. And it happens instantaneously. What happens for us in our culture today is that when we get the headache after the stressful conversation, we go for the bottle of ibuprofen. We don't say, what just happened? Why did I just go from not having a headache to having a headache? Like, what just happened? That my body, it gave me a message about the truth of who I am and who I need to show up for
myself as, in order to stay in that beautiful place of expansion that you described with those positive thoughts and affirmations when we first got on the call. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So with all these automatic thoughts, what can we do about them if they're all glued together? I mean, besides taking another 30 years of
yeah, which it may, by the way, it may take but one of the things that I started doing in my practice this year is something called the emotional freedom technique. Another word for that is tapping. So aside from doing these mantras, these positive self-talk, these written affirmation, you know, all around, everywhere it could be, the emotional freedom technique is this really neat way to access the acupressure points in the body that then link up to the neural net in the brain. And this is a really sort of neat, quirky technique that every time I introduce it to my people, they look at me like, really, Toni Kara, you want me to do that? And I'm, yes, really, we're going to do this. This was developed by a man named Gary Craig and has been adapted by Nick Ortner, and Wayne Dyer was a big fan of tapping. And what you do is, by stimulating the acupressure points in your body while saying certain mantras, and we'll do something together now, you can actually start to reset that brain and release emotion. You know, part of rewiring is releasing the emotion attached to the old belief system, because it's sad to think I'm not worthy. That's sad. And when we really start to process that out, we're going to feel it. So let's do a little experiential, because I'm chatty. So let's do a little experiential, and I'm going to take my eyeglasses off because there's certain acupressure points on the face that we're going to be accessing. So we would want to find, let's use worthy. I love worthy. I think worthiness is an issue that we all bump up against at least 10 times a day.
Oh yeah, I think it's the core wound of a lot of people. You know I have a lot of stories around worthiness, and I think that they're like all different stories, but when I can boil them all the way down, most of them come down to, am I worthy?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Almost everything can come down to, am I worthy of this? So what we're going to do is we're going to say, even though I feel unworthy. Okay, so we're going to say, even though I feel unworthy, I deeply love and accept myself. And I'm going to push the computer back a little bit so that you can start to see, and maybe I'll even sit up a bit so that you can get a sense of, we tap in certain places. We tap right here on the karate chop part of our hand. I'm going to run the series, and then we'll do it together. You could do it now. So we karate chop here, and I'll go through it. But first, I want to familiarize you with the acupressure points. We tap here. We come right up here to the spot between the nose and the brow, and we tap here. You could do like 2 or 3 fingers. Yep. Yeah, you got it right here. And then we move along the brow bone to the temple. And you could feel it, Christina. Feel around a little bit. When it feels sensitive, you've got it. And you don't have to move straight from here over to here. We're not going to slide all the way over from here to here. Good. And if you feel a little sensitivity, that means you've hit the spot. I know for me, it's like, I sort of feel it. And then we come beneath the cheek. You got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over here in front of the cheek. Beneath the nose.
So your video is lagging a little bit. So if I'm a little slow, that's what's going on.
Oh, okay. Got it. On the collarbone. Yeah, beautiful necklace.
Thank you.
Under the arm. And for women, this place is right where the bra would be. And you'll tap around, and you'll feel that it feels vulnerable.
Yeah, and it kind of feels, I don't want to say electric is coming out of it, but like it tingling.
You got it. Then you're in the right spot. And then we go to the crown of the head. And I actually think I missed the chin point, but we'll get to it. So those are the basic points. The basic points are karate chop here, corner of the eyebrow,
okay,
over by the temple, on the cheekbone, on the nose, beneath the nose, on the chin, which I neglected in the first round, collarbone, beneath the arm, and then crown of the head. So those are our spots. So this is what we do. This is where we use our mantras now, so that we're really going to reset the neural net. Even though I have this feeling of unworthiness, I deeply love and accept myself. This feeling of unworthiness, and then move it across, this belief that I'm just not worthy of good things. This feeling of unworthiness. This unworthiness. This feeling of unworthiness. This feeling of unworthiness. I really can feel unworthy. Wow. These beliefs and feelings around unworthiness. And then we're going to come back to the karate chop point and do another round. First of all, how is your body feeling after doing that?
It's a little tingly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be. You're stimulating all of those acupressure points. So we're going to do another round. Even though I have this feeling of unworthiness, I deeply love and accept myself. This feeling of unworthiness. This unworthiness. And really let the words sink into your belly. And you want to be saying them also as you're doing this. I know for the purpose of this, you may not want to, but
I don't want to echo for this audience.
Right. This unworthiness. This unworthiness. And then following through on then the collarbone again, under the arm, and then the crown of the head. And then we hold. And we really let the stimulation sink in, because you've just tapped on some really sensitive, strategic points in the body. And the reason why we say the mantra is that we really are helping the neurology, our body's neurology, reset. And by saying the problem statement of this unworthiness, we let that part of us, we allow it to be there, but we also cultivate the higher self. Because who is it that's saying, even though I have this part of me that feels unworthy right now, I deeply love and accept myself? You know, whose voice is that if there's also the voice of me that says I'm unworthy? So we are giving the self permission to have this thing. Even though I have this thing, I am still in my power as a woman, as a human, as an authentic, divine expression of love and humanity. And I know for me, after I run this round, even after I just did this, I'm needing to settle. You know, it really helps me settle. And I've had people in the office, they'll get very emotional as we go through this, and we'll stop and I'll say, just tap where you are and let the emotion come out. Just let that emotion come out, and let the thoughts really be, let the affirmations, let everything just really sink into the body. And this is a really brilliant way to seal that net.
Yeah, perfect. I'm sorry, like I said, your video is a little slow, so you're still talking,
Okay.
according to me.
Okay.
You know, that's really fantastic, because it really reminds me of, so when I first started doing personal growth work, I read Eckhart Tolle, and
I saw it back there.
Yeah, A New Earth. And he says, his big breakthrough was he said he was sick of himself. He couldn't stand himself anymore. And he realized that there had to be two of him, because there had to be the self, and then there had to be the piece that couldn't stand that self. And,
That's it.
what you were explaining just now. And so we have to realize that we have the doer and we have the observer, right? And the doer and the judger,
Right. That critical voice.
the perspective of that judger, and saying that, yeah, I heard that these stories were true as I was growing up, right? Because a lot of these things, I can imagine they aren't emotional, because it brings up all those stories of not being worthy, all those times that we reinforce that by seeing things out in the world and going, up, there it is again, I'm unworthy, and that could have been, parents telling us that we didn't earn something, or we didn't do well enough, or, maybe they just, were neglectful and didn't give us enough love. And so we feel like we're not worthy of love, or whatever it is. We have to let all those stories go and really work on those stories. It just takes so long. I mean, and it doesn't mean that, oh, you're going to do this, and in, 10 days, it's all going to be fixed. This way of accessing that and letting it go. And I really love that, so when you get that phone call or whatever, that's stressing you out, you can sit there and think about it. Once you understand the message, you can counteract it, and it's a way of changing those neural pathways so that we're creating ones that serve us better.
That's it. And I love what you said. Once you figure out the message, and that's it. The way we figure out the message is by listening to the body and by looking at the behaviors that show up. If you're walking to the refrigerator, if you're going for a drink or a drug, if you're picking at your fingernails, if you're picking at your hair, right? We see this in so many disorders. We listen to the body as the messenger for the beliefs that are out of alignment with that higher self that Eckhart Tolle talks about cultivating, or that he said, wait a second, I'm here too, so who are you, right? So it's that it really is through the body's wisdom, through the body's brilliant intuitive wisdom, that we can really come home to ourselves and who we are from a higher perspective, from a higher level of consciousness, so that we can move away from those narratives that kept us feeling small and diminished.
Yeah, and that's the ego's job, right? And that's what the ego wants to do. It wants to tell you that you're not good enough, that you need this, or you need that, or you need to be this. And I mean, it's just constantly going to tell you, the outer, what it thinks that you need in order to be safe. And sometimes there's information there, but often, and this is something we've talked about with the other speakers, is, we're all born kind of perfect, and we have this really wonderful intuition. Naturally, we have this inner guide in us. And then what happens is we learn to distrust that guide as we go, because, mom says that we're not supposed to act that way or be like that. And dad says this, and teachers reinforce that we should be still and learning, and, all these things that are intuition as children, is to play or whatever. It doesn't jive. And so we stop listening to ourselves, and we start telling ourselves that we're wrong. And then that creates all these masks, or some people have called it clay over our gold, or whatever. We've covered up all
that.
Yeah, we've covered up all the light. So, and then we try to find this again, and it is challenging because we've done such a good job at stamping it down there.
Right. And, like you said, it could be our mother's voice, our father's voice. It could also be the messages that as children we extracted, right? For example, our mother didn't say, Tony, Carrie, you're a burden, or Tony, Carrie, you're worthless. Father didn't say, Tony, Carrie, you're worthless.
Absolutely.
We extract the meaning, and those perspectives are through the filter of a child. Those that story is written through the filter of a child who is not empowered, who does rely on other people to navigate the world, who believes that mother and father know everything that there is to know about experience. Because if they didn't believe that, they'd be so nervous and scared that they would go into some sort of a traumatic survival mode if their mind could even hold that. I don't even know.
Sure.
So we get these messages all over the place, and the work is to then, or to now, start to really listen to the true message that wants to be known, that wants to be seen, that wants to be forward. And that's through accessing the body's wisdom. Every time it's through accessing the body's wisdom.
Right. I mean, and how many times has somebody said before, this looks good on paper, but it just doesn't feel right, and I think that's when our body's going, yeah, this isn't for us. Like, even if all the facts seem to line up, I think that we have this inner wisdom where if your body's still constricting for some reason, you might want to look at what that is. And
That's right.
I really loved how you said, if you're going right to the fridge or you're going into that autopilot, whatever your habit is, like having a drink or
right.
whatever it is, when you're going into that autopilot, to think about, why you're doing it. And then when you figure out why, is there some other way that you could, like, what is it that you would rather be doing? Would you rather go for a walk when you're stressed? Because
right.
it's likely to be better for you than that chocolate cake or that ice cream that you're going to, depending on who you are. But
yeah, and you're right. It's gaining the awareness. It's saying, okay, my body is giving me an impulse. What am I going to do with that impulse? And then in the moments that we decide to go to the fridge, having some loving compassion for ourselves and saying, wow, that was really hard. I just got off the phone with my mother, my sister, my father, my partner, and my boss. And boy, was that really, I want cake. And I'm going to give myself permission to have cake. Because if we go into diminishment over what we've chosen to do, then that story is even louder, and we want to avoid that. So, right. But yeah, we can really start to slow down and listen to the impulse and do something like go for a walk, go for a jog, do the dishes, right? Do something. The body needs that to move. Don't hold that anymore. Do something.
Yeah. Well, I like the chocolate cake. Have the chocolate cake. But then think about it, how does it feel in my body? Did this solve what I wanted it to solve?
Right.
Or did this not help me? You know what I mean? Like that's what you want to learn. And then if it didn't feel good and it didn't make you feel any better, or it just, made you feel groggy later, or you are on a diet, whatever, then you can think about it next time. Here I go for this chocolate cake again. Is this going to help? Or should I do a little research, try to take a walk around the block, see if that helps a little bit too, or go garden or go paint or whatever. I mean, you can come up with a million things that you'd rather be doing.
Yeah. And I love this. I love this chocolate cake analogy. I love this. And I think too, if you're doing something that you're then going to go into critical voice for, right? That's when we have to go, wait, because I could say, have the chocolate cake. And while you're eating the chocolate cake, think about what's going on for you and enjoy the chocolate cake. But if I'm having the chocolate cake and going, I'm so fat, I'm so impulsive, I'm such a binge eater,
or this is going to hurt my body.
And then there we are in diminishment and critical voice again. And then before you know it, you've eaten the whole cake. And now you're hating yourself so much that there's not enough tapping on anything that's going to have you feeling any type of worthy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have cake or have the alcohol or have the substance, if you're not going into critical voice after it and you're able to do the work, go on and move forward. But if it's something that you are in diminishment and self-judgment and critical voice over, then let's pause and let's look at it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because I mean, yeah, exactly. Like chocolate cake isn't bad all the time. We
Right.
all need a little chocolate cake.
Exactly.
But if
It's
you find yourself
story.
going for chocolate cake 6 times a day, you might be like,
Right.
maybe
Right.
there's something else going on.
Exactly. And if we're punishing ourselves, I mean, there's so, but again, it's looking at the story and paying attention to the thought
Yeah.
and listening to always listening to the body. Always listening to the body.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that. That was really helpful, and we got some really hands-on practical tapping ways that we can really start changing those neural pathways. And I think that that's so essential. And we can do it with anything. You could do it with abundance. You'd be like, I am worthy of abundance,
Right.
or I am abundant, whatever
Right.
message that you want to use, tap that
Right.
thing into your body,
Right.
whatever
And
you're going for.
when you're doing the EFT, you want there to be a problem statement. So
Okay.
we would say, even though I have this feeling of lack, right? I know it feels like the opposite because you want to, and you can of course go into the affirmation could then be outside of the tap. It could be, I am abundant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the mantras and the, I am abundant, my life is fertile. And then going into all of that. For the purpose of the EFT, we want there to be a problem statement because we want there to be no judgment around it. We want to eliminate that critical voice, eliminate it. Even though I have this headache, even though I have this feeling of unworthiness, I love myself anyway. I love myself anyway. And being in that place.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really because it feels more authentic then, because it's really easy for, a therapist to say, oh, just tell yourself to be happy, and then you're like, oh God, I hate that. I don't feel happy. How can I say I am happy? But you say, even though I'm not feeling happy, I love myself, or, I know I'm worthy, or whatever.
That would be the perfect statement. Even though I don't feel happy, I deeply love, because you're allowing all parts of you to be held.
Yeah, I really like that, because it also embraces, because I know when I'm in that negative space, I want to tell myself 100% negative stories, but it also says, okay, well, this not so great thing may be true, but this really nice thing is still true, even though this, it's at the same time. So it's balancing that crone energy of knowing that you can be in both spaces at one time.
That's it.
Yeah.
I've had statements on my, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I've had statements on my microwave that have said, I hear you, critical voice, and I love myself anyway. So it's just, I love myself anyway. And, we can all get caught up in so many things and we act out of our, this place and that wound. And at the end of the day, if we can make room for all of it and still allow ourselves to be held, then we're doing all right.
Yeah. Well, perfect. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Toni, you can see all of her information below. Her website's down there, and so is her social links. And you can ask her a question or tell us how you felt with the tapping or with the experiment about the thoughts, the I am worthy or I am nothing, how did your body feel about that? So we'd love you guys to share with us and just let us know what questions or what comments you have about this session. And I'll make sure Toni gets them all, and she'll be checking to make sure that she gets them all. Thank you so much for joining us. This was really fantastic. Some hands-on stuff that we can use.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun, Christina. Thank you so much.
Perfect. All right. And the rest of you, we'll see you in the next session.